So I've been sitting down for a good while trying to figure out how I can approach this subject without upsetting too many people, and I honestly could not find a good way. Call it a lack of creativity, call it time restraints, or call it laziness, but today's subject is bound to rub some people the wrong way because there's simply too many sides to the argument. It is impossible for me to hit a middle ground in this discussion that kinda brings all of us together no matter which perspective we decide to focus on. So just be aware, if you are not open-minded for a discussion that might challenge your opinion, then this video is probably not for you. And as much as I enjoy and love the active discussions held in the comment section, I want to urge you guys to be very mindful of the fact that for this topic in particular, many different factions exist and nobody is truly wrong, because ultimately it's all pretty subjective. However, as subjective as it is, there are objective up and downsides that we can explore, as well as subjective up and downsides to a number of these different factions involved in the argument. So let's kick in the door and call the culprit by their name. To many, watching matches in the Overwatch League is way more fun than actually playing the game. But why? Today, I want to talk about the core issues that differentiate ladder play from pro play. Some problems that can and probably should be addressed, as also problems that aren't really problems. Starting things off, let's keep it simple. A very obvious difference between watching pro play and participating in ladder play is that one of them is a passive activity and the other one is an active activity. We are treating both of these mediums very differently. Passively consuming content is more often about the social experience, like how you would go to the movies with your friends or binge a show on YouTube to stay up to date on the freshest memes so you're not left out when someone is asking you if you know the way. Staying up to date on the results of matches in the league can as much feel like an obligation to some who want to be able to join their circle of friends in their discussions about whether Pine or Fleta is the best hitscan player, as it can be an activity you join simply for the appreciation of witnessing the highest level of play for a video game that you like. Beyond that, obviously there are individuals who watch these types of tournaments without even being invested in the game in the first place, which often speaks for great entertainment value despite the fact that there's no inherent connection to the source material. Like how I can watch Avengers movies and enjoy the action without really being deep in the MCU. How deeply we connect to the source material also often dictates how we consume content that relates to it. Like how I probably enjoy and appreciate the league on a bit of a different level as an Overwatch player who's been playing since the beta versus someone who just wanted to know what all the fuss was about on Twitch. If you look at the act of actually participating in competitive matches in the game, the way we consume the content is way different. We are much more deeply invested because we are directly affected by the things that happen on screen, and we have a chance to affect them. A lot of people will always be way more harsh about the experience that affects them directly than the content that they only consume passively. For something like a live stream, sure, production quality, variety, and entertainment value is very important, but if these things fail to convince us, we can just walk away without losing anything. If a game that we paid money for and decide to invest not only time but effort into is not delivering on a player's expectation, then many of us obviously take that way more seriously and way more personally. And those feelings often get exaggerated the more money, time, and effort we invested. So in that sense, it already is not exactly a fair comparison. Most players are likely going to want to invest more time in actually playing the game than watching others play it, and given that the league is on a schedule, that is often going to be accurate too. That means that our expectations are way higher, and given how many people throw their opinion in a pot, finding the right middle ground to keep most of us happy is not exactly easy. There are more streamlined procedures that you can follow when it comes to the watching experience of a tournament type event than there are for balancing a game of God knows how many different characters, mixing and matching mechanics of God knows how many different genres of gaming. But it is obvious that in this whole scenario, pro players are likely always going to have a better gameplay experience than most of us mortal beings because they are dedicated to playing the game as it was intended to be. It doesn't even have anything to do with the level of skill they provide, it's just that 12 players in the lobby all agreed to play the game in a certain way, the proper way. Something that we on ladders simply cannot agree on because so many people are looking for vastly different experiences. Now obviously, when I say playing the proper way, that refers to something along the lines of what the designers expected us to do at the time of creating this game. It is important to note that for any such online experience, the players decide to make the game their own. They are the ones who set the tone. They are the ones who play the game excessively, find out things not even the developers thought of, and they decide to make their own rules if the rules rules of the base game don't suit them. This kind of behavior was way more popular a couple decades ago than it is now, with developers restricting access to the game. We don't have a choice in the matter. We can't just run our own servers with our own balance patches, rule sets, and competitive tracking systems because Blizzard does not allow us to do so, thus putting us at their mercy on their own schedule. The way the league has developed is certainly odd if you take that into account. The general populace does not even feel like the game has reached a decently competitive core in its design and balance. The developers are doing absolutely nothing to further support team or clan structures, and yet we are already seeing a professional league. Something that would usually come into being from the ground up, built by and supported by the community. Blizzard has now taken all of that into their own hands and their own wallet. Because the esports scene for Overwatch had barely any chance to grow organically, we are seeing a massive disconnect between the experience that pro players have on stage and the experience that we have when playing competitively on ladder. And that's why so many of us feel like watching the league is more fun than actually playing the game. They are playing in a way that we desire to, but most people only associate a certain skill level and financial structure with that, when in reality, it's more about agreement. The Overwatch community does not have a choice in the matter when it comes to supporting different gameplay philosophies, because the game has no boundaries or rule sets in place to create these types of environments, and the developer does not allow us to create our own within the realm of the game itself. With the way the game has been built, more structure is needed for players to be able to participate in the type of gameplay that they believe provides the best experience. Competitive play is not truly competitive as long as it lacks any sort of gating mechanism that keeps people out who don't care for the competition, and as long as players in this game mode cannot agree to play with a specific type of rule set in mind. Whenever I read comments advocating in favor of a more positive community mindset being the solution to many of our problems, I kinda have to shake my head, because it is not that simple. In an online environment, curation and restrictions are needed to keep the peace in the streets, and that is fact. If you allow players to do whatever, then just advocating for more positivity is not gonna do anything, because you can't enforce that type of mindset on these players. Not everything that players perceive to be wrong or disruptive is a bannable offense, and in a greater sense, it shouldn't be. Frustration is born in flaws within the system that we participate in, and these flaws need to be ironed out. We're constantly bumping heads about how the game should be played, when ultimately the developers should come out and create separate environments for the different types of players that play Overwatch. Getting good is not the solution. Ranking up higher is not a solution either. Banning one tricks sure as hell ain't one by a long shot. And with all these troubles that currently make players feel like watching is more fun than playing, just having a more positive mindset is never gonna be a solution either. We need support for the different gameplay philosophies that are present in our community. We need restrictions, we need rules, and we need some help from the developers to put all this into place and put more effort into furthering the competitive scene for their own game rather than solely focusing on the pro scene. Because competition should not be limited to the content that we consume passively. It should also be present in the game that we want to love playing as much as we love watching it. And making that available to the players is what is going to slowly alleviate the fundamental differences between what we see and what we play. Sick of playing the same game for months? Tired of scouring through Steam to find something to play? Humble Monthly supplies you with a bundle of awesome games every month for just $12. Every bundle far exceeds its asking price and value, even featuring AAA games, and your purchase supports both my channel as well as charity. So don't be on the lookout any longer and check out Humble Monthly by using the link in the description below. And this concludes today's video about the fundamental differences between watching pro play and participating in ladder play. Again guys, as I said in the beginning, there will be vastly differing opinions when it comes to this subject. Believe it or not, but there are players out there who think that the ladder is completely fine as is right now. Something that I honestly cannot get behind. At the end of the day, disagreeing is absolutely fine, and I hope that we can have some civil discussions down in the comment section below. But this is me done for the day, so thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you all next time.